Welcome, everyone. I hope you guys are doing very well. I'm glad to be in the company of so many CXOs today. My name is Akhilesh Tuteja, and I am the global leader for KPMG's cybersecurity business. I have the privilege of working with many of you and many friends like you for nearly 3 decades. I've also had the opportunity to work in nearly 40 countries and learn from some of the wonderful clients I've worked with. In my role, I do talk to a lot of board members, a lot of senior executives, and not to mention all of you. I have several CXO friends, and many of them are chief security officers. Let me just share with you a very interesting story, which I just came across in my life. The story goes back a few months. And I was having a nice cup of coffee with one of my best friends who's a chief security officer for a very large global corporation. He's very happy when we start the meeting, but by the time we are into that, what they call the third shot of caffeine, he turns his face. He looks at me and he says, Akhilesh, I can't tell you what I'm going through these days. It just doesn't feel good. It seems like that the whole world has come crashing. And I say, why do you think so? And he says, there are several reasons. My life is very bad. Number one, nobody thanks me. I do the most thankless job on this planet. And two, people who work for me, I'm really struggling to keep them. They all want to leave because they've got great offers. They get paid more money, they get to work in better environment. They all love me, but they say, hey, what do? I've got a better job. I'm also struggling to keep up with threats. As you know, the attackers these days, they are so advanced, they're so difficult to predict. That's really, really hard for my job. And the fourth, my boss expects me to work 24/7. I need to be available. I can't switch off my mobile phone. You never know when the next threat is going to come from. And to make it all worse, my spouse has given me notice. She no longer wants to work with me. She says, you got to choose. Do you want to be the CISO for this large global corporation and take pride in it? Or you want to be part of my family? You tell me, what do I do? And interestingly, I do have another job offer, which pays me 30% more than what I'm getting. But I'm not tempted because all the 5 reasons I told you here are going to be the same there too. So I'll just get paid more to be exploited more. I looked at him and I said, yeah, maybe that's a reality. The role of a CISO is quite hard. And I'm sure each one of you are reflecting in the same way that, yeah, I kind of live the life of Akhilesh's friend. And I told him that maybe I don't disagree with you. This is how the role of CISOs are. They're expected to do many things. But why don't we meet again? I'll think about how we can make your life better. And let's meet up for coffee again tomorrow. The day ends, I'm still struggling because all the reasons which I heard from my friend were quite relevant. But I went and I said, okay, I need to go and find another reason. So next day we meet for the same coffee shop again. And here we are talking. And this time I am in control. I'm not listening, but I'm actually sharing. And I'm sharing the perspective which I learned from all of you. So the first one I told him, I said that, do you think that there are less people to do your job than needed on this planet? He said, of course. There are definitely less CISOs than we need. The world requires more and more CISOs, and we don't have enough. And that's the reason my people are leaving. So I said, that's a good job. That's the first good thing, that your job is in demand. There is more demand of your job than supply. Imagine if the life was the other way around. If there were less jobs and more people, would you feel happier? And he says, yeah, I didn't think of it that way. I said, yeah, you should feel better that you're in a great place, that there are less people than the jobs available. So you are in demand. You should feel good about it. You at least have a job and possibly another job which pays you 30%. Makes you feel better, right? And the second is that, do you think your job is difficult? He said, of course, my job is damn difficult. That's another reason you should be happy. Because if your job is difficult, that's the reason you get paid. And not only you get paid, but you actually get the satisfaction. If your job wasn't difficult, a monkey could do. Would you like to do a monkey's job? Of course not. So the fact that your job is tough is a good news, because doing tough job is what makes us all human and evolve. And let me tell you the third thing. According to me, when I think about it and I go back and I slept with all your concerns, I felt like you are goddess Durga to me. You can do so many things all at the same time. And he says, no, Akhilesh, you are not making sense this time. Tell me more. And I said, okay, what does the CFO in your company does? He said, the CFO manages finances. I said, what does the HR guy do? He manages people. What does an operations person do? He manages operation. I said, what do you do? He said, I do many things. I said, number one, you manage people because you're struggling to keep your people. So you are doing a good job of an HR manager if you're keeping them together. And when all of these vendors come and tell you, saying that these are the 100 shiny toys which have come into the market since you bought one last quarter, you got to make a choice saying that which of these top 100 tools which you're going to buy, because you can't afford to buy all 100 things. You possibly will buy one or two. The ability with which you make the decision of where to invest, because you've got huge choices and very little budget. You're doing the job of a good investment manager. And every time you have to write that business case to make sure that the threat which you are protecting your company against, I think you're doing a good finance job too there. And every time you're struggling to keep up with that GDPR or the privacy restriction, all that, don't you feel like that you're looking like a chief legal officer there? Of course I am, because I'm dealing with the regulation, which typically folks in the legal department and others do. And aren't you dealing with the real hackers which bring the businesses down? Yes, I'm a warrior. I fight with them. So how are you doing 7 jobs in one role? I think you must be learning every single day. And that made my friend look like saying, not only he's doing a job which is worth doing and not being done by a monkey, it's a job which making him learn every single day. And actually my pitch doesn't end there. My pitch goes on further. The times are out and the times are over when the job of a CISO was to protect an organization from just risk. I think CISOs of today and all of you today actually create humongous value to the corporation and not just reduce risk. And I think it's very important for you to recognize that. In the digital era, the most important currency is digital trust. And what makes or breaks a digital trust is a cyber attack, is something not working the way it should be working. As KPMG, we do a global CEO survey every year. And for the 6 years in a row, the global CEOs are coming and telling us, saying, hey, the biggest factor which could halt the growth and profitability of an organization is cybersecurity. Cybersecurity has remained the top 5 factors which is impacting the growth for the CEOs around the world. So if you look at it in the past, our jobs must have been to make sure that we protect ourselves against the threats, but it is now to actually create value. 2/3 of the CEOs which we survey also tell us that a good cybersecurity makes them feel stronger, more confident, and exploit more power of digital technology. So in today's world, digital technologies need trust. They need, because you can't identify an individual other than their digital identities. And what makes it easier to identify digital identities is a good cybersecurity. Another thing which I will tell you is that most corporations which invest tons of money on creating digital transformation, connecting to their customers, contactless payment, all of that, they invest a lot of money in creating a great customer experience. And if you didn't build in a good cybersecurity in that customer experience can go away completely. So a good cybersecurity expert actually enables an organization to go faster on digital and also create a great digital experience. And that's the power. So in today's time, a CISO is no longer just reducing the risk, is no longer just making sure that the regulations are complied with, is actually increasing the trust of an organization so that they can deal with their customers with the same amount of confidence as they did in physical era. And that was the point at which I stopped. And it was my time to learn and listen from my friend who yesterday was crying, saying how bad job was. And he turned around and says, hey, I could change the job. I could get paid a little bit more, but I think I feel happy here. My job has a bigger meaning than I ever had. And I want to tell you guys, not that I wanted to preach here, this is the thing which I live every single day. We are all protector of our organization's assets. But more importantly, what we are the person which upholds the trust in the ecosystem. A good cybersecurity implementation can create so much trust. So as the CISO's role has evolved from just being a protection of an organization's asset or just complying with the risk and regulation, is about how do we create trust in the ecosystem so that people can really trust us and do more with us. I'll give one last example before I close. Is that imagine when you order Uber and somebody shows up with 4.7 star rating driver, you feel good about traveling with her or him. But imagine if the same person came with 2.5 stars. How would you feel? Now you just trust not the individual because you've never met that person. You trust that 4.7 star. How does that 4.7 star come into the picture? Through digital ecosystem. How do you make sure that that 4.7 star is not tempered with? The driver hasn't created his own score. So the technology makes sure that there's an enough and good cybersecurity implementation. Make sure that when the person who's driving the car sitting behind the wheel is the same person which thousands of people have rated to be a 5-star person. That is the kind of trust which we all create into the ecosystem. So with that, I feel proud to be part of the community. I feel delighted to be part of all of your lives to be able to make that small difference and make our organizations grow. Thank you very much.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.